Hey, welcome back everyone. It is now the middle of October of 2022, and as we get closer to other Star Wars shows out there like Tales of the Jedi, The Bad Batch Season 2, as well as a handful of other shows slated for 2023 like Mando 3, Ahsoka, and a whole lot more on the horizon as well. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, one thing about the new universe between Favreau and Filoni is that they are taking a lot of core elements from Star Wars Legends. They're already heavily working on the Ahsoka series, which, by the way, it's getting closer to wrapping production. Basically, principal photography is about to come to a close in the next couple of months, and they're going to enter into post-production, where they work on the editing, the special effects, and the color grading, all these crazy and wild things that they're going to be doing. Now, the thing about John and Dave is that we have been talking about this for a very long time, is that they are working over a dozen Star Wars projects at the same exact time that are all either in principal photography, post-production, production, or in the early development phase, but they're working on everything at the same time. And it just makes you realize how busy these guys really are, working day in and day out, around the clock, and really just doing this for the fans, really making sure that they are going to provide a great product to the community that's going to talk about these shows for years upon years. They want to make them very cinematic and movie-like. Now that brings us to the next subject here, and how it does involve John and Dave stepping down from a specific Star Wars project, and how they recently confirmed all of this. Now, with many new Star Wars TV shows currently in the works by Disney and Lucasfilm, creators John and Dave Filoni are getting ready to announce a handful of those projects at Celebration next year for Star Wars fans. Now, it's noted that currently both Favreau and Filoni are officially stepping down from one of the Star Wars TV shows that they were fixing for Disney executives. Now, recently both Favreau and Filoni engaged in an interview where they were able to talk more about leaving one of the projects. This is said to have been the Acolyte, where Favreau at one point in time came forward and stated, "Our priority is with the Mandalorian and its surrounding shows that lend to the story. And sure, we have been experimenting with different eras and agreed to bring our creative sides to the Acolyte, but myself and Filoni felt it was best to part ways from that project for multiple reasons that made everything tough for us as professionals and as fans. We hope the best for Leslie Headland and the work that she is doing with her crew, but we just fell into many creative differences all the time that made us making our decisions for the series quite a bit emotional, to say the least." Now, let me just pause here quickly and just give you guys a real fast recap. John and Dave joined to fix the mess that Kathleen Kennedy created. They took over 5 whole episodes. Meanwhile, Kathleen Kennedy still had creative power over 4, with Leslie. So, basically, Leslie Headland was not allowing herself to change the episodes that she had power over because of what John and Dave were doing with the other 5. And it was kind of like more or less an indirect creative difference between those creators. John and Dave still had full power over those 5 episodes, but on the flip side, Leslie and Kathleen were not willing to change anything in the episodes that they had full power over. So, from what it seems, this show was going to feel like it was 2 different shows in one. And John and Dave realized this, and that's exactly why they left and don't want to fix the show. They don't want to help out anymore, and they just want to focus on themselves and do what's best for them. And you know what? Good on them. I'm a little upset that they're not with the Acolyte anymore, because it could have improved the show, but like I say, them parting ways is probably the best thing that they could have done. It's not only best for them as creators, but also as fans. I mean, they're passionate guys. They're only going to work on what they're passionate about. And I like that. They gave it a shot. It didn't work out. They left. You know, so it really does bring one to question how much of their material that they used to fix the show is going to carry on over into the actual series once it's actually made. So that brings us to the next thing here, where everything begins to really pick up, alright? Because we already know that Kathleen Kennedy's having a lot of trouble with the Acolyte series and how Disney executives have been giving her a very hard time over that, but I digress. It was never our intention, he says, to join. Of course, just to join, help, and just leave, but we tried, and our side of the story and hers just weren't matching all that well. Filoni eventually jumped in and said the following: well, like what John said, this happens often in the film industry, where you just would rather part ways from an environment that holds creative differences because of that struggle, you know? Even if you have the freedom, it impacts you emotionally and physically too. It can be energy draining, and I've thought it was the right choice to just focus on us and our vision. Now, for those of you that aren't aware, Favreau and Filoni made it clear a couple of weeks ago that when it comes to shows that they're working on, like Ahsoka, Mando Season 3 and 4, and other shows as well, is that they really want to actually lend a lot of the story towards the Star Wars Legends aspects, and basically the highlights of Legends. And that means we're going to get a lot of material from the Throne Trilogy, Dark Empire, Shadows of the Empire, and the list goes on and on. Now, obviously, John and Dave have a job to do. They want to make sure that, you know, the Mandoverse is going to thrive and survive and eventually blossom into something else. Because, let's face it, they're also working on different eras as well. They are focusing on the Old Republic timeline. We talked about this already too. They're just in the early stages of that right now. And they're also focusing on post-Episode 9 content. So you got Old Republic, post-Episode 9 stuff, and all Mandoverse era stuff, and even in between the original trilogy movies, some projects are going to be catered toward that as well. So there's a lot of things on their plate, a lot of announcements coming our way next year, and how that's all going to eventually transfer into John and Dave's passion being shown on the screen. Now, the Acolyte, for those of you that don't know, it's not coming out next year. There's no way in the world they're going to make that 2023 release as originally planned. It's most likely going to be an early 2024 show, easily. If that. You know, it might even be spring at this point, because the major filming is not going to begin until December at this point. So, anyways, guys, I would love to hear what you all have to say about everything, because when you look at it like this, alright, when you look at John and Dave, is that they are making sure that these shows, such as Mando, Ahsoka, and of course others out there, are really going to use a lot of cameos in a very respectful way, in a very, constructive way, where it's going to actually work with the story, it's going to develop into something very important. They're not just going to throw cameos in there just for the sake of it, but they are going to do it for fun and where it's going to make a lot of sense. And I think that's what makes fans look forward to Favreau and Filoni's work the most, is because of all of those big surprises that are currently in store, and all these tricks up their sleeve that they really have, especially with the true identity of Grogu being worked on right now. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys have to say about all of this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.